computer science or anthropology or the classics is not narrowly pre-professionalized. You would typically not take more than a fourth of your courses in that discipline. It forces you, in most universities, to spread quite broadly, to encounter different ways of thinking, different ways of framing issues around the world. And I think that it's a very healthy tradition. I think it's served the graduates well. Of course, it can also lead to aimlessness. It can lead to sort of unfocused pursuits. But at the best universities, I think when the high unemployment could be the result of many factors, not the least of which is simply supply and demand. Just look at graduate business education. This country produces over 100,000 MBAs each year. And it wouldn't surprise any of you to think that there is going to be a bit of a shakeout in that market. There is already a flight to quality. These kids growing in Bangalore and Shanghai and Seoul don't always think of emigrating the way some of us did when they look at opportunities in the US, because their locus of economic opportunity lies back in their regions. So there will be shifts, there will inevitably be disruptions, but I think fundamentally the enterprise to me looks quite sound. I think part of it is this culture of knowledge creation. That is what has attracted over at least last 6 or 7 decades, some of the, I would say longer than that, some of the world's greatest minds to the universities here. And as long as that remains intact, and it's not a given that it remains intact. My parents' generation actually didn't think of coming to the US. My father had the chance to go to 2 places. He was a chemical engineer. He could have gone to either the Imperial College of Science and Technology and to MIT. He told me this only like 10 years ago. I said, you could have gone to MIT? He said he wouldn't have considered MIT. He would have only gone to the Imperial College. And I told him that I tried getting into MIT. I didn't get in. But not only would I have picked MIT over the Imperial College, I would have picked at least 20 other schools in the US before I would have considered the Imperial College. So things can shift. You can't be complacent about the fact that the Harvards and Yales and Princetons of the world are preeminent at this point. So I think I respect what you're saying, but I would say that the question, that the matter is not so simple. I would say there are many strengths of the university system, but you get a chance to have the last word.
No, that's not the point. See, there is strength in America. I respect that the kind of marketing systems America produces, nobody else in the world produces. There is enough pockets of research and innovation. Those are not my points. If you ask 100 students as a sample and ask them what are they trying to do in their life, 50% plus would say, I will figure it out after graduation. Okay? Maybe I'm exaggerating, but the fact is that...
But is that bad?
Hold on. $200,000 investment leading to a $60,000 job is something which we are forgetting. We are talking of the top 25 quartile and giving kudos to the top 25 quartile. But look at those children and those parents who have implemented or spent around $150,000 to $250,000 to see Friday, Saturday, Sunday parties. Okay?
I should
No, I'm not trying to be critical of the situation, but you belong to the best school there. But my point is that the cost of education is going up, the dollar value is coming down, and I see students struggling. When I get into a coffee shop, I see students. I'll give you an example. There's a 3.9 on 4, a BA, okay, BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration, from an Ivy school. She's unemployed for 10 months. 3.9 on 4, okay, and a BBA, and she's the brightest student ever. You can imagine what is she doing? She's doing web design, which is a $15 job.
Yeah. So again, as I said, I won't address all facets of your question. There might be
Address some
others.
aspect,
Yeah,
please.
just there's one other question I think
Yeah.
here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, having been a faculty for a brief period of time in my career, I was always been struck by the fact that the primacy accorded to research over teaching, especially in elite universities. And would love your views on that, as well as the fact that if you look at the tenure process for after tenure, you have job security, which is totally in contrast to the business
Right.
world where you have absolutely
It is an
no,
absurd
right?
system, isn't it? If you look at it, it seems to have precisely the most perverse kinds of incentives associated with it. You sort of publish or perish till you get tenure, and then this is one of the few opportunities for lifetime employment in the US. And yet, it's not quite as simple. I think, as I said, just getting tenure doesn't make you feel less haunted by, less daunted by the sort of need to create new knowledge. It is part of the culture. It's not just the incentive system. So it's true that these kinds of contracts look ridiculous to all of you in the business world. Would you ever offer a lifetime contract to an employee? Probably not. And yet there is a power to that, and I think we have to respect it. I'm not defending all of it. I think, if you ask me what my preference would be, I would say give long-term contracts, give 10-year contracts. It doesn't have to be lifetime contracts. So there is room for reform, but this is the system that many universities around the world are now trying to emulate. And the argument offered is that if you really want to attract some of these greatest minds to your faculty, this is what you have to offer them. But I agree, there are flaws in this system. Yeah. Do we have time, Ashma?
Just maybe the last.
Last question.
Okay, who wants to have the last question?
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and so I have.
Take the mic.
I can be loud.
Okay.
I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she's into tennis class. I want to put her in violin class, and I live in Greenwich, and a lot of culture out there is children are, I wouldn't say they're overscheduled, but parents are trying to expose their children to a lot of things at a very early age. And when I talk to people, why do you do this? A lot of time the explanation I get is, these days in Ivy schools, it's resume builder, and you have to start it very early. My question to you is, you are a part of that system. Is it that system is kind of changing the behavior of parent and parenting for many people. Is it a goal worth pursuing?
Awesome.
There's a lot of hours that we put parents and children today. I have a friend who spends the whole Saturday teaching violin to her kids.
Right. Yeah, no, I think so just as the sharp contrast is the unidimensional system of entrance tests that kids in India, if our kids were growing up in India, they'd be panicking about the IIT, JEE, and so on. Is there a better alternative? So I'll just offer my personal opinion. I think a lot of this is a bit flaky, the way things end up. This holistic admissions process creates room for biases to creep in. And it then, of course, creates incentives for kids to go get this portfolio of extracurricular opportunities and activities. But I come down eventually a little bit on the side of the system that does recognize multiple ways of expressing your talent. It's very hard for any kid to really discover their passion until they've tried a number of things. And it's not a bad thing for kids to be exposed to music. Most of us, at least I would say for myself, I had no real exposure to music. And I missed that. I had no real exposure to literature growing up. I didn't even read books. And besides textbooks, which were mostly badly produced. But so it's not a bad thing. It does create tensions for parents. I have 2 daughters. One actually just started college, but I think it's not a bad thing. The other thing to note is that this is what I said to my daughter. You aspire to the best colleges in the US, but I can tell you this, you get into, I can give you a list of 100 universities in the US where your opportunity to learn will never be exhausted by what the university can offer. This is the depth of the university's sort of talent here. So there are, and when we, so my world is mostly the graduate world, not the undergraduate world, but you see kids coming in who are late bloomers. The other thing that's remarkable about this liberal arts tradition is that you can start with anthropology and switch to computer science in graduate school or vice versa. That would never happen in India, even now. So I actually find that much to admire in this system. Perhaps, I've now spent well over half my life here. I'm overstaying my welcome, so I want to be conscious of.
Yeah.
of time.
I think we're trying to catch up as well. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Present a small appreciation on behalf of IIM America.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you just stand for a picture there? Just stand for a picture.
All right, so we are going to take a break, just 5 minutes. I think we had just a break before the session, so hopefully if you can come back again, we're running a little behind. And then we'll have another very, interesting topic coming up.